Imagine an election system where a gym membership or a prescription pill bottle holds the exact same power to register a voter as a government-issued driver's license.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a totally crazy what-if scenario, right?
Right.
But that exact comparison is what legal teams are using right now to justify a massive federal takeover of mail-in voting.
Wow. Okay, well, let's lay out the news hook right away because the fight over election integrity ahead of the 2026 midterms is, well, it's escalating by the hour.
Oh, absolutely. It's moving fast.
Yeah. So we are looking at a newly signed executive order by Donald Trump, and this order basically authorizes federal agencies to systematically bypass state election officials.
Right, just completely go around them?
Exactly. The order directs the Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Postal Service to cross-reference state voter rolls directly with federal immigration databases.
And, the real centerpiece here, the big thing, is this new mandate they have.
Right, the barcodes.
Yeah. They plan to apply a unique, completely uncopyable barcode to every single mail-in ballot envelope that travels through the postal system.
Which is just a massive logistical shift. And this isn't just some proposal floating around in a think tank anymore, right?
No, not at all.
Uh,
A federal judge literally just greenlit this executive order. They denied a preliminary injunction from voting rights groups.
Wow. So it's happening.
Yeah, that legal victory totally sets the stage for this massive clash over how the upcoming midterm elections are actually going to be run.
Okay, before we go any further, I want to clearly state our mission for you, the listener, today. The sources we are diving into today come from a specifically conservative, right-wing viewpoint.
Right.
We're looking at commentary from a prominent political show and various video transcripts, and they strongly argue that widespread systemic vulnerabilities exist in our elections.
Yeah, and we really need to emphasize we are not taking any political sides here.
Exactly. We are not endorsing these viewpoints at all. Our goal is strictly to impartially unpack the claims, the statistics, and the arguments presented in the source material.
Right, so you can fully understand the actual conversation that's happening out there right now.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. Because to really get the magnitude of this federal executive order, we have to look at the state-level claims driving it.
Yeah, you really have to look at California. The commentary we reviewed puts a huge spotlight on California.
Right, because they argue that universal mail-in voting isn't just, slightly flawed, but functionally broken.
Exactly. They use these hyper-local, street-level examples to build their whole case for national intervention.
So let's start where they start, right on Skid Row in Los Angeles. The source material features these interviews with homeless individuals.
And they're very open about it, right?
Yeah, they openly detail how they participate in the voting process, but it's really not what you'd expect. These folks claim they are handed ballots for counties they don't even live in. They allege that organizers tell them, exactly what name to forge, where to sign, who to vote for.
Yeah, there's this one specific video clip in our sources that's just wild. A homeless woman claims she was paid exactly $2.
$2.
$2 to cast a ballot for local mayoral candidates, like Karen Bass or Nithya Raman.
Wow. Just $2. So the sources use that as basically the baseline price tag for a compromised vote.
Right. But, to really understand their argument, we have to talk about the actual mechanism here.
Okay, break that down.
So the commentary is targeting this thing called organized ballot harvesting.
Right, which is legal in California, right?
Yes, exactly. It's the legal practice where third parties can collect and submit ballots for other voters.
Got it.
But the argument is that this practice creates a literal market for exploitation. They claim it goes way beyond just, handing out a few bucks on a street corner.
Right. They say it scales up into these massive data anomalies.
Exactly. And they tie it directly to city infrastructure.
Yeah, and the statistics they pull to back this up are honestly pretty jarring. They focus heavily on voter registration data that's linked to homeless shelters.
Right, like the Midnight Mission shelter.
Yeah, let's talk about the Midnight Mission in Los Angeles. According to the data they presented, that facility has a strict physical capacity of 120 beds.
Oh.
84 for men, 36 for women. That's it.
Right, 120 beds total.
But the official voter records show 1,160 registered voters actively tied to that exact address.
I mean, it creates a really stark visual, right, that just doesn't add up.
Yeah.
And they present another one, the St. Joseph Center in Venice.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that one.
So this facility operates strictly as a drop-in center, meaning it has 0 residential beds.
Yeah. 0.
Nobody sleeps there. Ever. Yet the data shows 185 voters are registered using that specific building as their primary residence.
Okay, think about this like a hotel, right?
Yeah.
If a local hotel only has 120 beds, but 1,160 people claim they slept there last night.
You're immediately going to ask to see the registry.
Exactly. It totally defies the physical constraints of reality.
And the commentary doesn't just throw these numbers out in a vacuum. They draw a direct financial line to establish a motive here.
Right. Follow the money.
Exactly. They highlight that the St. Joseph Center received a $600,000 taxpayer-funded grant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the big detail they emphasize is that this specific grant was awarded by Nithya Raman.
Wait, the same politician mentioned in the $2 Skid Row video?
Yes. She awarded it when she chaired the City Council's Housing and Homelessness Committee.
Okay, so the underlying argument from the sources is that taxpayer funds are cycling through these shelters, and then the shelters allegedly serve as like hubs for ballot harvesting operations.
Right, operations that then benefit the exact politicians who are handing out the funds.
Wow. Okay, so if these localized anomalies are so blatant, why doesn't the state just investigate?
Well, that brings us to the actual laws governing the whole system. The sources claim that California's legal framework doesn't just accidentally permit this. They argue it's actually designed to shield it.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, there's a U.S. attorney cited in our sources who warns about California's extremely lax voter ID laws.
Okay.
If a first-time voter doesn't have a normal driver's license or a social security number, the state allegedly lets them register using some highly unconventional items,
Like what?
like gym membership cards,
Mhm.
credit cards,
Uh-huh.
employer IDs, or, and this is the craziest one, prescription drug labels.
Wait, like the sticker on a pill bottle?
Literally the sticker on a pill bottle.
Okay, I have to pause on the logic of the prescription drug label for a second.
Yeah, it's wild.
Because if someone uses a prescription bottle as their voter ID, doesn't that inherently expose their highly private medical data just to participate in a public election?
You would think so, yeah.
And the sources point out that California fiercely refuses to hand over its voter rolls for federal audits, aggressively citing state privacy laws. That seems like an enormous contradiction. You protect these massive databases of basic voter info saying, oh, privacy concerns, but you require a citizen to hand over their literal medical prescriptions to a random poll worker.
It's a huge contradiction, and it perfectly captures the ideological clash we are looking at in this deep dive.
Tell me more about that.
Well, the state prioritizes maximum voter access.
Yeah.
Right, and general privacy from the federal government. But the sources we reviewed view those exact same access points, the gym cards, refusing the audits, as deliberate engineered blind spots.
So they see them as features, not bugs.
Exactly. They argue these rules are meant to obscure the truth and facilitate fraud, not protect the voter.
And the vulnerabilities they point out extend way beyond just the registration process, right? It goes into how the votes are actually tallied.
Yeah, this is a huge point. The material alleges that California allows mail-in ballots to be officially counted based solely on a handwritten date on the envelope.
A handwritten date, not a postmark.
Right, not an official U.S. Postal Service postmark.
Wow. Because a postmark is mechanically stamped by federal sorting machines, right? It has a verifiable time and date.
Exactly. A postmark is an official federal receipt. A handwritten date is literally just ink from a pen.
Okay, I see where this is going.
The sources argue this massive loophole allows tens of thousands of late votes to just roll into counting centers days or even weeks after Election Day.
Because if the law only requires someone to scribble the right date on the outside of the envelope,
then bad actors can endlessly backdate ballots until they get the outcome they want. That's the claim.
now, the sources do push this narrative into some pretty dramatic territory, which we need to unpack.
Oh, yeah. The helicopter thing.
Right. They reference a specific local news broadcast that allegedly caught ballots being flown into counting facilities by helicopter in the middle of the night.
Which just sounds like a movie.
Totally. And the video supposedly shows these ballots being tossed into unmarked vans, handled by completely unidentified people way outside the normal chain of custody.
And what the commentary really leans into there is the sheer lack of transparency.
Right, like why no official trucks?
Exactly. Why aren't standard secure transport rules being followed? It feeds this whole theme that the physical logistics of the election are just operating in the shadows.
And the claims get even bigger. The material also spotlights these serious allegations against gubernatorial candidate Javier Becerra.
Yeah.
They accuse his campaign of using undocumented immigrants for canvassing and literally soliciting votes from other undocumented individuals in this state.
So when you stack all of this together, the $2 Skid Row votes, the overstuffed shelters, the handwritten dates, mysterious vans, and alleged non-citizen canvassers.
It's a lot.
It is, but it builds the foundation of their argument that the state either cannot or will not police its own system.
Which creates a massive collision course. Because if the state refuses to audit its own system, how does a federal agency legally step in to override them?
Right, and that brings us to the actual mechanics of Trump's executive order.
Here is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, it's an incredibly complex strategy. So the executive order bypasses state election officials completely by using the mail.
Because mail-in ballots rely on the federal postal system.
Exactly. The states don't control the mail. So the order mandates that a unique, non-duplicable barcode goes on every single mail-in ballot envelope.
Okay, but how does a barcode actually stop fraud?
Well, the sources call this a masterclass in 5D chess. This specialized barcode physically prevents foreign entities like China or Venezuela or even domestic groups from mass-producing fake ballots.
Because you can't just photocopy 1,000 envelopes and drop them in a mailbox anymore.
Exactly. The barcode is mathematically unique to the registered citizen. Think of it like two-factor authentication for your bank account.
Okay, I like that analogy.
The state provides the password, the handwritten signature. But the federal government is now holding the secondary device, the barcode. Without both matching up, the transaction is totally denied.
Okay, but let me challenge the logistics of how this actually plays out on the ground.
Okay.
Even if the Postal Service slaps a barcode on an envelope, the counting centers in California are run by state and county workers.
Right.
What stops a local poll worker from just totally ignoring the federal barcode and counting the ballot anyway?
See, the commentary actually addresses that exact vulnerability. The federal verification happens before the state worker ever even touches the envelope.
Oh, really?
As the ballot travels through the mail system, the Department of Homeland Security and the DOJ actively cross-reference that barcode with state voter rolls and federal immigration databases.
While it's in transit?
While it's in the mail. If the system flags an envelope as belonging to a non-citizen or having a fake address, the Postal Service physically intercepts it.
Wow.
It is legally quarantined before it ever reaches the county clerk. The state worker doesn't get to ignore the barcode because that bad ballot never even makes it to their sorting table.
That is just a staggering logistical hurdle. I mean, we are talking about tracking millions of individual envelopes in real time through a postal service that, let's be honest, already struggles to deliver a birthday card on time.
Oh, for sure. The commentary knows it's complex.
Yeah.
But they frame this whole maneuver as a temporary, aggressive stopgap.
A stopgap until what?
Until Congress can pass a broader law called the Save America Act.
But passing that act is a monumental hurdle on its own.
Yeah, it hinges entirely on Republican Senator John Thune.
Right, he has to maneuver around the Senate filibuster. And that traditionally requires a solid 60-vote threshold, unless they change the rules to force a talking filibuster, where senators actually have to stand there and speak constantly to delay a vote.
Exactly. So while Congress is completely gridlocked on all those procedural maneuvers, the executive branch is just acting unilaterally.
But unilateral action requires a judge to say it's legal, which brings us to the immediate legal reality of all this.
Right. U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols recently ruled on this exact executive order.
And he denied the block, right?
He did. He denied a preliminary injunction that voting rights groups requested to stop the barcodes and the databases.
What was his legal rationale for denying it?
It came down to the concept of standing and direct harm. Basically, in the legal system, you can't just sue to stop a policy because you ideologically hate it.
Right, you need actual damages.
Exactly. You have to prove the policy causes you direct, measurable injury. And the judge ruled that these groups failed to show how scanning barcodes or verifying citizenship actually harms legal voters.
So what does this all mean? That ruling fundamentally shifts everything. It legally clears federal agencies to start tracking mail-in flows right now.
Yeah, right ahead of the 2026 midterms. Which brings us to the sheer, unfiltered mathematical panic of those midterms.
Let's run the numbers. Because the material cites an Inside Elections poll, and it clarifies exactly why everyone is so intense about these rules right now.
The math is crazy.
The House of Representatives is balanced on a knife's edge. According to the data, Republicans hold 217 locked seats. Democrats hold 204.
Which leaves exactly 14 toss-up seats.
14.
And you need 218 seats for a majority. So the strategy for both parties is totally different. Republicans literally only need to flip one single toss-up seat.
Just one.
Just 1 out of 14.
Yeah.
Democrats, on the other hand, face this monumental task of running the board. They have to win all 14 toss-up seats just to hit the minimum threshold.
Wow. So when you look at that razor-thin margin, the intensity of this whole debate makes total sense.
Oh, yeah.
When the margin of power for the entire country comes down to a single congressional seat, suddenly a handful of anomalous votes at a Venice drop-in center or a batch of late envelopes with handwritten dates aren't just local curiosities anymore.
No. They become literal national security issues. It raises an important question about how political strategy has totally